You're listening to the Get Out and Drive podcast with John, custom car nerd Meyer, and Jason, old car guy Carr. We'll be bringing you gearheads everything you never wanted to know about cars and why they should be on the road and not in your garage. Are you ready to get out and drive?
All right, welcome to the Get Out and Drive podcast. I am John, custom car nerd Meyer.
And I am Jason, old car guy Carr.
And sneaking in from the shadows, Grant Tommy.
Straight six man.
Straight six man.
Straight six man. And we are on the eastbound direction of the Kansas to Canada trip 2024.
Sponsored by
AMD,
Auto Metal Direct.
Auto Metal Direct. All
And,
of your panels you need for your restoration.
Absolutely. So we are doing a first for the Get Out Drive podcast, first in history, and that we are literally getting out driving right now,
Yes.
I-80 eastbound Pennsylvania, and we're recording a podcast.
That's where the wind noise comes in.
We're in a square body Suburban, so if you guys have not been following my social media, then you'll be missing out on the fact that I just recently bought a 1990 Chevy Suburban Silverado package, two-wheel drive, and in Wichita, Kansas. So I flew in, picked up the vehicle, and immediately turned around and headed east. And we are on day 3 of that road trip. Grant joined me in Wichita and has been a part of this trip until yesterday when we picked up John in St. Louis. And here we are. It's been a great trip so far, guys. What do you think?
I think it's been awesome. Because, I mean, we stopped at a couple different places. We just met up with Allie. We were at Summit. And,
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
And I appreciate, Jason, you crafting this itinerary that made it super convenient because my house where I was born, Wichita, Kansas, and then my house where I live, and then where John lives and works, was literally on the route. Or route.
The route?
It's a route.
It's a route.
So we've had this conversation before.
Route.
Yeah, so the whole point of it was to make a trip out of it. And I invited John and Grant to join me for a couple of reasons. One is the camaraderie. The fact that we don't get together very often in person because we all live in different corners. And so just like last year when we did the Georgia trip to C10s in the city,
Yep.
we were able to get together for a podcast then. This one's a little clearer than that last podcast that we recorded. So.
We did get to stop in St. Louis, and we saw B. Cuda 69. We saw our sound guy.
We did,
Engineer
yep.
Paul.
And so I wanted to make sure that I met Paul because, again, we see each other all the time when we're recording podcasts on Zoom meetings, but we never really met face to face. So this was a first. And being able to meet Paul, and of course I saw Joanne again, who is our chaos coordinator, just being able to meet people. And that's kind of what this trip was about too, is being able to meet a few people. We need to go back to the beginning of this road trip, Grant. An ongoing joke is road quality.
Yeah.
So we started in Kansas. I forget the interstate number.
So I-35, the Kansas Turnpike, as you would call it. And so I explained to Jason, well, be prepared. It is a toll road, and I'll catch it. It's my home state. I'll post you. No big deal. He's like, well, how much are we talking? Like $1.06? Oh, no.
No.
No, on the Kansas Turnpike. So I said, but as much as we all hate taxes, I hate taxes. This particular voluntary tax, it is excessive. However, they do a stellar job making sure that surface is, in the wintertime, it's the first thing that's plowed. And Jason?
So I just wanted to jump in there to say that we are well in. We're almost 900 miles into this trip so far, and it was by far the best highway we drove on. And looking back, the $10 we paid for that toll, well worth it. Well worth it. I'd have paid $10 per state. I'd have paid more than that to have better quality roads.
So you're saying Indiana owes us money?
Indiana owes us about $300 in wheel dents.
That is true. That should be should be also on the table. I think John, you bring up a good point. There should be cash back for shitty roads. And when you said, I got to go back to the beginning. I thought you were going to go back to our first anecdote because you were just talking about meeting people.
We can go there.
Well, no, that's even further back. So I guess I was going to go somewhere else. You were talking right before that about meeting people. You know, these other YouTubers, people we've interacted over. Well, we also met some of our newest fans. When we rolled into town where I live, Tonganoxie, Kansas, USA, we rolled into an O'Reilly's to help fill out your bucket of goodies that we have in the back seat here, the very back, because you can only fly with so much. So
That's right.
So actually, let's start there. What lessons did you learn flying in with trying to create a tool set for this 1,990-mile journey?
I learned that there is a limit to the size of anything you can bring, tools that you want to bring with you. And
As a carry-on.
As a carry-on.
Right.
So if I wanted to check my bag, I could have brought some of those tools, but I didn't want to pay $54 extra for my plane ticket to carry on that luggage. So I had to relinquish a couple pieces. Luckily, my brother-in-law was still in the parking lot of the airport. He came in, grabbed those. So we were limited on tools. We pulled into this O'Reilly's, and let me set the scene. You guys know what meerkats are?
I do. I've seen Timon and Pumbaa.
Right. So you know when they see or hear something, it's like their heads come up like this,
Yes.
and they're like searching left and right.
Right.
We pulled in there in this Chevy Suburban, and 3 heads appeared in the window, like meerkats, and they were like, "Oh wow, look at that thing!" You know. By the time we get in there, Grant, they're having a discussion.
Yeah, so they're already talking about YouTubers as high school aspiring car guys would, you know, in downtime at an O'Reilly's.
And completely unprovoked. They didn't know who we were.
Sure.
And at the same time, I think it's worth mentioning because while, yes, Jason and I will have long-form content on YouTube with video, so his 1990 Suburban that we're riding in right now, on top of just being the Suburban that it is, it's lowered. And it's got a little character, a little patina to it as well. So make sure you guys check out, you know, the Instagram stories, the Instagram posts, and all the sorts, so you can help build this picture in your mind. But yeah, so we walk in and they're talking Weston Champlin. You know, they're talking about 4BT swaps. Did you see that video of that guy who did this swap and that? And they even mentioned a former interview of ours, Jason, from back when we did Car Guy and Six Fan Show on YouTube.
802 Garage.
802 Garage. So knowing that that's the topic and we were about to start the YouTube journey and we were starting, of course, networking kicks in and that's what we do.
Yep, the old channel stickers come out, and we're handing those things out like a deck of cards. And these 3 young fellows were pretty tickled that, you know, we were YouTubers. Of course, we're not big YouTubers. We're not like world famous like Cletus and Vice Grip Garage, stuff like that. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. But the whole thing is they were pretty tickled that we were doing that,
Awesome.
and that we were putting them on camera. And guys, I'm going to butcher it. I can't remember your names. I know there was Kyle and Owen, and
Oh, gosh.
there was one more, and they may not hear this anyway, so we're probably fine. But
Wow.
I appreciate you guys, and that was cool. So I had stickers, Grant did not. So what did we do, Grant?
Well, then we just drove the 1.2 miles home, picked some up, and then we jumped in Lori G. Prix, my 1979 Pontiac Grand Prix, headed straight back. And so we do the same exact move. We back into the same stall that we backed in with, should I say it, Dale Jr.
Yes.
And Jason's sitting in the passenger seat. So as I'm, navigating between white lines, Jason looks up and sees, what do you see, Jason?
I see these kids inside seeing us come back. And they're like, their arms go up in the air like we just scored a touchdown. Yeah. And they're in there watching my videos.
That's cool.
So we talk about this all the time on the Get Up Drive podcast, is encouraging kids to learn a trade, getting them out there, learning about things. And here's 3 guys. We say they're high school. They might be older than high school. We don't know.
Could be.
Either way, they're working in a parts store.
Yep.
We knew that they knew our game, what we were doing,
Sure.
the YouTube thing. And, I encourage you to, if you're interested in cars, that's a great place to start and learn about what certain parts are, what things do. And you're working retail, you're dealing with customers and learning that sort of thing. So mom, dad, if you're listening to this right now and you've got kids who are a little bit inclined to like vehicles and cars and want to learn more, that's a great learning spot or learning opportunity, is working at an auto parts store.
That's almost it for day one. I mean, but so far, Dale Jr.'s been so stress-free.
We'll just keep moving forward. And when I bought the truck, I knew a couple of things about it. It does have a little bit of rust on the rockers and one in the rear quarter panel, and one hinge on the tailgate is Bluetooth. It's not attached. A weight reduction, of course.
Yes.
And it can be fixed. And that's where Auto Metal Direct comes in. We've partnered with them for this fix and this build, and they're sending us a package full of the panels, the patch repair panels that we need, not just to get the rocker panels done, inners and outers, but to get that tailgate hinge system fixed up on this truck. So thank you to Auto Metal Direct, to Jason and Eddie for jumping on board and partnering up, making this a great opportunity to showcase what I can do as well as what their products can do. So I knew the cruise control didn't work, and we knew that the AC for some reason wasn't working. We didn't know why. We're going to jump into day 3, which was this morning, very quickly, where John comes into play and helps us figure out the AC. So John, what did we learn, or how did we go about figuring that one out?
Well, we're through deductive reasoning. That's called roadside mechanics to the layman. Air conditioning system, and you make sure that when you're looking at an air conditioning system, is everything working? Don't take the engine out of the car. You immediately look at the fuses. Do you have power? That's the biggest thing. You have a roadside mechanic, or if you're just a layman and you figure out what's wrong with the car, always have some sort of electrical tester. Figure out what's wrong. Start with the fuse box. Chase the wiring down. Find out where you don't have power.
This vehicle has front and rear AC.
Yep.
So there's 2 fuses, and both of them were good.
Yep. And that's where you start.
Yep. And so when we went out to the compressor, when the vehicle was running, the clutch wasn't engaging.
Right.
So
So what do we do first? We beat it with a hammer.
well,
or
first
a
we checked it.
tire
First we checked it for power.
We did first check
Yeah,
it
and
for
there
power.
there was nothing.
And then after there was no power, we asked it very
Politely with a tire iron.
with a tire iron if it could provide power. And that test was negative.
Negative.
So we move on to the high side switch on the dryer, and that provided no power. So we pull the switch off. You've got power at the incoming on the switch.
Yep.
You jump the switch, and the compressor
Kicks on.
Compressor kicks on. That is just roadside mechanics.
Yep. And long story short, when everything was all said and done, we pumped 1 big can of refrigerant in it and 2 smaller cans.
Yep.
It started blowing ice cold. The dryer was condensating the way it should,
Oh yeah.
and we have both of them going in here now, and it's comfortable. Yesterday it was quite muggy outside. We were driving with the windows down. We couldn't record a podcast. It was so windy. So we're doing it now.
But now I'm actually chilly in here. I was
It
going to
is.
buy a coat at Summit.
Yes, because it is cold. So let's go back to yesterday, day 2. We leave Kansas City, and we travel the 4-ish hours to St. Louis,
Right.
where we pick up John.
Yep. You stopped at St. Louis Snow Cone, world headquarters, my catering company, and picked me up. And we headed east, and we stopped to see our sound engineer, Paul Meyer. And he had to stop at his neighbor's house.
Yes, his neighbor,
That guy had a 65 Chevelle.
Dennis. Yes. And that thing was well equipped.
It did. It had a blow-through centrifugal supercharger
Yes, and it sounded
and a big block.
amazing.
It did. It did.
I think it even had an automatic transmission.
I cannot comment on that. I believe it. I think.
That's the story.
Or was it?
It was the man.
Anyways,
I don't remember. That's where I blacked out.
so it was great to meet Paul and Dennis, and we left there and we went to grab a quick bite and hit the road.
Yeah.
We continued to head east, where we had a date with Cletus McFarland.
We went to Cletus and Cars.
We went to Cletus and Cars. Just
Yes.
so happens it was happening on Friday night.
Yep.
And Saturday,
Yep.
as we're recording this now.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
And they had the Crown Vic race.
They did.
They had a surprise drop-in guest,
Not on the roster.
not on the roster, Tony Stewart.
Could
Tony
you
Stewart.
imagine being at what I would consider, I don't know, a smaller-ish racetrack, like a half mile at Indianapolis Raceway Park? You just happen to trip over Tony Stewart, and you're in the race, and you're running, and you're racing against Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
That's insane to even think about.
Well, I mean, he is an Indiana native,
Yes.
and he owns a track in Indiana. My memory escapes me right
Yeah, I
now.
can't
What's the name
remember
of the track?
that track.
But he was in there. He was leading the race. I think he led something like, I don't know, 40-something laps. And
Oh, he led a lot of
on
laps.
the last lap, he got wrecked in turn 3 and 4.
It's probably worth mentioning too. The race ended in a green-white or
Green-white checker.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
yes. The best thing ever in racing.
Yeah,
Green,
yeah.
white,
And
checker.
it wasn't because of that wreck, because that wreck happened literally on the last lap.
That got a yellow.
But it helped second place, close the gap and
It
get one
It
more
did.
shot at it. So,
It did. And our boy Derek, Vice Grip Garage, I believe, finished third.
Yes.
yes.
So
Yeah, they hung
or
it out a little
second.
bit too
It was
far.
second because he was third coming into that
That's
wreck.
right. That's
Yep.
right.
So, anyways,
Tony
finished.
Stewart, he was a great guy.
He was.
And,
He was
and he
very
took
good
it in
about it.
stride.
Yep.
He could have been angry. He could have been nothing. He could have had problems with it. He took it in stride, and he was the best sport about everything.
Well, real quick though, and if anybody watched it online, word we heard. So we met up with another YouTuber, Dirty Panda. Got to meet him in person, and according to him, he had a friend watching it on the live stream. But there was actually video evidence of no contact. That Tony was just pushing the car just a little too hard and broke loose.
And he
Now-
hung it out too far and spun it around.
Yeah.
Now I find that maybe hard to believe because he's a professional driver, but I don't know.
Well,
we watched him. Grant and I watched him on turn 1, and he was drifted hard all the way through turn 1 and 2. So I don't think that he got touched. I think he was pushing and pushing and pushing.
well, and a guy like that knows how to handle anything he gets into.
Yep.
You do 2 or 3 laps. Of course, Tony Stewart, he's a NASCAR driver, sprint car driver, NHRA, and now he's getting into a 20-year-old Crown Vic. And within a few laps, he had that sucker down pat, and he was leading the race.
No matter which way you shake it, I mean, that was entertainment. Like, I'm not even the biggest circle track, like, automotive racing fan, but the drama, and you can't script it that way. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better ending. We joked because we were kind of, maybe not had the best positive attitudes of the walk it took for us to get to the grandstands. Like, we show up, we hear the national anthem. We had some bad advice as to where to park. We struggled with purchasing our $45 tickets.
Yes.
We were not in, shall we say, the best mood when we got finally to the track. But I'm telling you, when we walk away, and I think I speak for all of us, it was worth every dollar of the $45 price of admission.
I think it was. Despite the walk and despite the bad advice, I think we made the best of it, and it was incredible opportunity, incredible racing to watch.
So when the race was done, Grant and I hung out down by the flag stand, and Cletus McFarland, who featured this race, who put this event on, he came out and started talking to some of us, and somebody had asked him, was that staged, that wreck, on the last lap? And Cletus swears that he told Tony Stewart, look, treat it like you're in it to win $1 million, basically.
Yeah.
Race it hard. Whatever happens, happens. And that's exactly what Tony Stewart did. Yes, he wrecked on the last lap coming to the checker flag. But I'll tell you right now, Tony Stewart was having just as much fun as everybody else in those cars and as much as everybody in the stands watching them.
Yep.
And as the resident probably least dialed into NASCAR of the three of us, I still know enough to know Tony Stewart is not the type of guy I don't think that really cares to take second in anything in his life.
No.
So it would be really hard pressed to believe that there was any sort of being staged.
Yeah, no, I don't believe so at all.
Because you remember what Ricky Bobby told me, right? If you're
You're
not
second.
first, you're
Yeah.
last.
So when the race was over, we had a great time. We got to meet a few other YouTubers and some fans actually as well. So we left Indy. We drove another 35, 40 minutes outside east of Indy to our hotel, and actually, you know what? We didn't. We had a hard time finding food. Damn it!
Oh, we did.
We said,
stopped at.
Let's grab a quick bite before we go back to the hotel because we were all starving. And so the first place we went was Raleigh.
Yes.
Walk in, and we stand at the takeout window for 15 minutes.
No one acknowledged
They
us.
didn't even acknowledge. They saw us, but they didn't even acknowledge we were there.
Nope.
So we said, you know what? There's other restaurants on this strip. We drove up the road. We said, you know what? We'll settle for Burger King. It was closed.
It's closed.
And then we went back up and we saw this other place. And Grant, do you remember the name of the restaurant we ate at last
I
night?
do not. I could probably find it if
But-
I needed.
They had burritos as big as your head.
Yes.
That
and,
was the giant sign. That's what drew me in.
yeah, and that's exactly what it said on it.
Yes.
Burritos as big as your head. Anyways, it's a small family-owned business, I believe, and
Authentic.
very authentic.
That was
and,
awesome.
and delicious.
Granted, the spot.
Granted, we paid the price this morning.
Yes.
However, woke up early, headed over to Advanced Auto Parts, got the AC fixed, and we hit the road, destined to Summit Racing
Oh, yeah.
in Talmadge, Ohio.
Which pretty much brings us up to the here and the now and what we see. But if you've never been to Summit Racing, of course, I highly recommend the brick and mortar store experience. It's just something totally different. It's similar to, I've been to like a four-wheel parts store, but this is probably 4 times the size of at least the local ones we have in Kansas City. But yeah, great experience. Connected with some other fans as well. Give a shout out to Auto Alley on YouTube and Instagram. Sweet 66 Ford Mustang. But yeah, that's essentially what brings us up to the here and now. It's like let's do it. Let's podcast. Let's get out and drive podcast.
So the future of this drive right now, today, for day 3, is to head from Ohio to Pennsylvania. We're heading to Danville, and we're heading to a burger joint. We're also going to meet up with a few friends there who we've been interacting with for years through our Instagram, YouTube connections, and grab a bite to eat from there on to Danbury, Connecticut, and then tomorrow when we wake up, we'll be hitting Portland, Maine, where I drop off John and Grant so they can fly home. And then I travel the remaining 3 hours home alone. I will be able to find my way.
Oh, yeah.
I will not get lost.
You won't be hot.
I certainly won't be hot. We're
It is
freezing.
freezing
Like,
in here.
It is. I think it's almost time to turn that
Yeah.
either down or off.
Feel it in the nose.
But guys, we appreciate you listening to the Get Out and Drive pod.
That's another bump.
That's another bump. Guys, we appreciate you listening to the Get Out and Drive podcast, especially this episode. We're happy to be able to be featured with a sponsorship, AMD Auto Metal Direct. And as we move forward, there's going to be more podcasts coming very, very soon. Schedules are freeing up, and we appreciate you guys watching and listening. So for now, my name is Jason.
I'm John.
I'm Grant.
We'll see you guys on the next podcast. Take care.
Look, I know everyone wants to get out and drive, but it's been difficult with the price of gas lately. But get out and drive doesn't have to mean physically driving your ride.
Get Out and Drive means sharing your auto repair skills with the next generation. Hashtag, what drives youth?
Get out and drive means watching a classic road trip movie or something with a cool chase scene.
Get Out and Drive means hosting a car show or a cruise.
Get out and drive means working on that project car to get it ready to get out and drive.
Get Out and Drive means get those toy cars, Hot Wheels, remote control cars, and die casts and burn up the pavement.
Get out and drive means supporting organizations that help keep the automotive industry and hobby alive.
What does Get Out and Drive mean to you?
Let us know by leaving a message on our listener hotline. Just go to getoutanddrive.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click the listener hotline button.
Cruise on over to our website, getoutanddrive.com, for all the info you never wanted to know about our podcast. Hit us up on our listener hotline. Be the first to know what's happening. Get industry news and grab your Get Out and Drive merch. Connect with us on social media. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on Twitter at Get Out and Drive Pod.
What drives you?